the Book of Revelation. You know, just saying the name conjures up all these epic images, right? Epic battles, mysterious prophecies. But what if we've been overcomplicating it this whole time? Today, we're digging into a sermon that claims it has the one simple key to unlocking this whole ancient text.
Yeah, when you think about Revelation, your mind probably goes to all the wild imagery. We're talking dragons, beasts, the four horsemen. It's led to endless theories and debates, but what if all that complexity, all that mystery was built around one single, straightforward idea? That's the really provocative question this sermon is asking. All right, so here's our game plan for breaking this down. We're going to unpack the sermon's argument in 5 key steps. First, we'll look at the single message it claims is the heart of the whole book. Then we'll trace where that message even comes from. After that, we'll get into why it was written, a modern-day sign the sermon says is a total game changer, and finally, a simple story that kind of brings it all home.
So, what is this one big idea? Well, according to the sermon we're exploring, the key to really understanding Revelation isn't about decoding every single symbol, but about grabbing hold of one central message that ties the entire book together.
The sermon really zeroes in on this one phrase, which you find at the very, very end of the book, and it argues that this isn't just some closing line, like sincerely yours. No, this is the thesis statement for all 22 chapters that come before it. So from this sermon's perspective, we should stop thinking about Revelation as this mystical puzzle we have to solve. Instead, it suggests we see it as a direct and pretty urgent announcement. Every vision, every prophecy, it all points back to this one thing. Jesus is coming back, and it's going to be soon. Okay, but if this message is that important, you've got to ask, where does it come from? Who says? The sermon argues that its authority comes from a very specific divine chain of command. And this slide really lays it out perfectly. The message starts with number 1, God. He's the source. It's then given to number 2, Jesus, who acts as the messenger. From there, an angel, the courier, delivers it to number 4, John, who writes it all down like a scribe. And finally, it gets to its intended audience, the servants, or, believers. The sermon presents this as this perfect, unbroken chain, which is meant to guarantee the message's divine authority. Which brings us to the why of it all. Why deliver this urgent message with such incredible divine authority? Well, the sermon argues it's not about satisfying our curiosity about the future. It's for a very practical, very immediate purpose. And the sermon uses this really powerful metaphor of bridal preparation. Just imagine a bride getting ready for her wedding date. Everything has to be perfect. In this interpretation, Revelation is basically presented as the guide for believers to prepare themselves in that same way for a spiritual union with Jesus. Now, this is where the sermon makes a really bold claim. It says that a key prophecy from thousands of years ago has actually already been fulfilled in our lifetime. So this isn't just about ancient history, it's about what's supposedly happening right now. So the sermon points to prophecies just like this one from the book of Amos, which talks about Israel's restoration. And then it draws a direct line from that ancient text to the establishment of the state of Israel in 1948. From this viewpoint, that's the literal fulfillment of that prophecy. It's seen as the definitive sign that the end times are here. Okay, so if the return is supposedly imminent and the signs are all around us, how is a person supposed to live? Well, the sermon wraps up by using a simple parable from the Gospels to show the 2 very different responses you could have. And this slide just lays out the 2 paths so clearly, right? The sermon is asking, are you the faithful servant, the one who's watchful, ready, and doing their job, or are you the wicked servant, the one who just kind of says, my master's staying away a long time and decides to just party and get complacent? It's presented as one or the other. So what's the bottom line here? According to this sermon, Revelation isn't just some book of predictions you study. It's a call to action. The goal isn't to become an expert on the end times, but to live every single day as if it could be the last, completely focused on that spiritual readiness. And all of this leaves us with a pretty big question to chew on. How do these ancient texts, and the very specific ways people choose to interpret them, continue to have such a powerful influence on the lives and worldviews of millions of people today? This sermon offers just one interpretation, but it's a potent reminder that, for many, the past is never really past.